Okay, in this section, we're going to learn conditional related statements. So we're used to the conditional, if P then Q. Now we're going to change it to the converse, the inverse, and the contrapositive. To change it to the converse, you just switch them around. If Q, then P. To change it to the inverse, you leave them in the same order, but you make them knots. If not P, then not Q. And to change it to the contrapositive, you switch them and make them knots. So if not Q, then not P. Now it says determine each of the following given the conditional statement. If I live in Orlando, so that's my P, then I live in Florida, that's my Q. Okay, so let's do the converse. So for part A, the converse just means we're going to switch them around. So instead of if I live in Orlando, I'm going to say if I live in Florida, then I live in Orlando. All right, the next one for B, we're doing the inverse. Now the inverse says you leave them in the same order as the original, but you change it to not. So you're going to say, if I do not live in Orlando, then I do not live in Florida. Now for part C, the contrapositive, you switch them and you make it not. So I'm going to say, if I do not live in Florida, then I do not live in Orlando. Now on the next slide, you're going to see the truth statement or the truth value for these. So let's look at them. Notice that the conditional and the contrapositive are equivalent when you look at their truth values from a truth table. And the converse and the inverse are equivalent. Okay, so it's kind of interesting how that works. The conditional and contrapositive end up with the same truth value. Converse and the inverse do. So let's look at this next one. This one says we're going to start with if not P, then Q. Okay, so the converse says you just switch them. So I'm going to have Q, then not P. The next thing it asks you to do is the inverse. To find the inverse, you leave them in the same order, but you change them. So since this one started out not P, it's going to change to P. Then that one started out Q, so I make it not Q. The last one, the contrapositive. For the contrapositive, we switch the order and we change the symbol in front. So I'm going to have not Q. I change it to a not Q. Then P. I change it from not P to P. And that would give you the contrapositive.